So, welcome again, fam. We have the pleasure of being with Uguudei, our good friend from Vancouver, but originally from Mongolia?
Yeah.
Okay. So, my brother, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man.
We've talked a little bit off camera about like your professional career, about like just what's next and stuff. So, I want to start in the beginning. Football transcends cultures and borders, and it's truly a global language. Did you always know that you wanted to be a football player?
I would say I got into playing football a bit late, like 10, 11, and I never really played like at a proper academy level. It was just about having fun playing with my friends in the street, and that's how I, grew to love the game. And yeah, it's been part of my life. And since then, it's never left, and it's given me so many amazing opportunities, met so many amazing people, so many experiences, and some of the best friends in my life I've met through football, and even my girlfriend, we met through kind of football.
Wait, tell us a little bit more about that.
So there's a Liverpool fan club in Mongolia. It's a very active organization. It has football competitions. We do different stuff. We watch the games together, and we met at one of the football competitions. She saw me playing, and I guess she liked what she saw.
She's like, "Who's that center back right there?"
Yeah. But at that, like the fan club competition, the level is lower, so I was playing like center mid, attacking mid, doing in bits everywhere.
Which takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Like when you start, I think everybody always wants to play forward, right? It's like,
yeah.
Who's a striker?
Yeah.
What made you eventually go to the back, right? Because you're telling me you're starting in the center. So what pushed you to the back?
Probably common sense, and also, and I had a huge growth spurt. I'm a big guy now, but when I was first playing, I was a shorter, like more agile player, so I could turn more easily. I was more quick, but now when you get the height, you lose stuff, like your agility goes a little bit, and obviously I think it happens with pro players a lot, is like just their technique, their ability on the ball is not as good as some of the midfielders, so then maybe their qualities work out at the back.
In the back. Yeah, that's so true actually. And it's interesting too, because like sometimes you see that little flair in certain players, right? Like the Piqués of the world, right? He was a forward for a long time.
Yeah.
Then he went to the back, but you see sometimes he would go up, make the header, make the run, give the give and go, and then eventually score. So were you a scoring machine at one point? Did you have a?
So I was never like a poacher or goal scorer, but I would say I have a decent long range shot.
Okay.
And that center back, you don't really get to take long shots, and it doesn't really make sense most of the time. So, but it helps with the stuff like long passing, and usually the only chances I get to score is like from a set piece or a corner. So not a goal scoring machine, but I can score sometimes. Yeah.
You did your part when it was necessary.
Yeah. My job is the other way, trying to keep the goals out, and I enjoy it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you began to pursue your football career and you saw that you wanted to take it more seriously, what path led you to becoming a professional, right? So what were some of the biggest sacrifices that you had to make and challenges that you faced along the way?
So I would say the first part was, you're saying what made me decide.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I just loved playing the game so much, and when you play at a higher, like advanced level, it's like another level to just playing in the street with friends, like organization, tactics, like 11 people on the field working together, like that. I really like that, and the competition, like that feeling of winning a competitive game, getting the 3 points, like that buzz you get, that's what for me I enjoy the most.
Yeah, of course. No, I think even those one games where you're like, we're barely, you're down, one down goal, and then last minute goal, draw. The beautiful thing about football is a draw is not a loss, right? And in many ways, a draw can be a big victory, depending on the table, depending on the game. So I completely agree with that. So tell us, how did you become a professional?
So it's probably a very unconventional path. Like I said, I never was in a professional academy system, and I actually when I was a kid, I was playing a lot, and I told my parents I wanted to just pursue football. But as it happens with a lot of people, the parents aren't as supportive. Maybe they don't see the vision as much, and they were the type of parents who, you go to school, you get a good job, football should be more of a hobby, that type of thing. So I kind of fell away from playing a lot for a while. I was working at a normal job. I was going to university and stuff, and so I kind of fell away a little bit. And then, but the Mongolian football scene is fairly new, compared to the other top leagues and stuff, and it's not very well known. And still to this day, it's growing. But there was a new team opening up called Ulaanbaatar City, and they were looking for players, and I had a cousin who was going to play there, so I met up with him, and just went to practice a few times. It kind of worked out, and that's kind of how I got my start. And I played a few seasons in the Mongolian Premier League after that.
Shout out to Ulaanbaatar City.
Ulaanbaatar City. Unfortunately, they're disbanded, but
nonetheless,
still,
that's where you got your start, right?
Yeah.
That's where you got your start. So you're telling me about the structure. So can you go a little bit more in depth of the competitive environment of the Mongolian Premier League? So I know it's a little bit newer, but how do you see it's evolved since you started to when you're coming close to the end of your career to now? I'm sure maybe once in a while you're catching a game, and I'm sure there's a flash oh wow, look at the competition.
So unfortunately, there's a lot of politics involved in Mongolian football. There's corruption, and still to this day it's a big issue. So the Football Federation gets a lot of funding from FIFA, and then not all of it goes to where it should go. There's people in the middle doing stuff, and so that has kind of halted the pace. But I would say the league on a technical level, just in terms of the teams, the players, has been growing a lot. And actually players from the US, all over Asia, even Africa, Europe, and especially Japan, they come to play in the Mongolian Premier League to kind of get that experience of playing competitively, and then they can move on to maybe different leagues like Thailand or somewhere in Europe. That's kind of how they get their start. So I would say the level of the league is not comparable to the top leagues, obviously, but it is a growing league for sure.
Of course. And I think somebody has to break that door down, and you and your teammates and this former club of yours, while no longer being here, you guys inspired somebody along the way. You started with your cousin, right? There's somebody visiting, a family member, a friend, they're like, I want to be like this guy, or I think I could play there, so along the way you guys also paved the way for the future. So that's beautiful here. And unfortunately, the corruption in the game always takes away. I feel like in all our countries, right? Unfortunately, it's a story told too many times, What about growing up? Who were some of your favorite players that you looked up to, that you wanted to mold your game around? And actually, I had to ask, who's your team?
Liverpool.
Okay, Liverpool. Yeah. So I feel like an answer is coming. So who were some of the players?
So I started supporting Liverpool after the Istanbul 2005 Champions League final, and some people say oh, you're only supporting them because they won the Champions League, but the way they were losing 3-0 at halftime, and you remember that Milan side, 11 legends, it doesn't stop, right? Pirlo. It doesn't stop. Shevchenko, Crespo, Maldini,
Kaká,
Yapstam. It doesn't stop, bro. Crazy side, 3-0. I was like, this team is getting killed. It's over, right? But they somehow came back. They didn't give up, and that kind of really inspired me. They're not giving up. They're playing, and they actually won the game, and it was so emotional, right? And so, obviously, Steven Gerrard was a huge player at that time, and I would say, played with a lot of mediocre players compared to Frank Lampard or Scholes. They had amazing teams around them, but Gerrard was dragging that team. And so he was my inspiration, and that's I think for me anyways, it impacts a lot on how I play. Is like I look at the players I like, the ones I idolize, and I try to get their game, parts of their game into mine. So that's why I was playing midfield when I was a kid, because I just like Gerard and those long shots, and I used to take long shots at the goal like so many times, like alone, just practicing. And actually I would say I have a decent long strike, obviously nothing like his, but it's kind of cool that you get inspired from someone's ability and then you try it yourself and you get maybe a little bit of that. And then, like I said, later I started playing center back, and right now obviously the main man Van Dijk is killing it, and just his arrogance, his aura on the field, like how he uses that to kind of intimidate the opponents. Like I tried to copy that when I play, and that confidence, and so now it's Van Dijk.
So when you played, like, because Van Dijk, he commands the pitch, like you said, right? He's running the defense, he's running the midfield, he's communicating to the team. Were you that leader on your team? Like you had
I tried to play center back in my own way, because no one can be like Van Dijk. He's got everything, but and I'm not gonna compare myself to him, certainly, but I do like to kind of get that part of from his game, like that confidence, that kind of body language. That I think that's a huge part of the game. Not just your skills, but just how you carry yourself reflects on others as well. So I tried to play with that confidence, thinking, it may not be true, but I tried to think I'm the best defender here. No one's gonna get past me. Like I have that kind of mentality. I tried to have it.
You love to hear it. And honestly, I think anybody can say when you have that strong, confident, center back, it does so much for everybody. So it doesn't get said enough, but we appreciate you for holding the back line, my friend. So as the career started winding down, father time, nobody can escape it, right? Was there a moment where you started feeling like, okay, I have to transition, like it's time to like maybe think of the future? When was that moment, and how was that feeling too, right? Because a lot of athletes, football, American football, baseball, when their careers coming to an end, sometimes that transition is hard.
I would say to a certain extent I always knew. Like as a kid, you're playing and you love to play, but then you get older, you see the levels, like you play against really strong players, and then you can tell the difference, like, the way they touch the ball is different than mine, and no matter how much I want to play like that, just my ability isn't there to that level. So to an extent I always knew that I'm not gonna have that career playing top level. So I still love the game so much, so I'm gonna play at the highest level I can. And for me, that was the Mongolian Premier League, and it's still a huge, privilege. But I always knew that I'm not gonna make a big career out of just playing football. So I just love it so much that I want to be a part of it in any way I can.
Of course. Which is gonna take me to my next question, right? And kind of how this interview came to be. EAFC, right? What was the transition, and what was your experience been working with EA, working with the FC team? How's that? Because I can tell you right now, football is one dream, but man, that's another dream in itself, And more achievable for some people too, right?
Absolutely. So I've been a fan of the game for a long time as well. I think FIFA 06 makes me feel old saying this.
No, that's my first FIFA too.
FIFA 06 was the one that I first started playing regularly. Like I played the previous versions before, but I wasn't really playing it as much. But from then, FIFA 06, I played it all day, all night, all the time. My parents would yell at me like, "Turn off that PlayStation and do your homework." But funnily enough, not listening to that advice has kind of given me this journey. So maybe my advice to kids, will be do what you gotta do what you want to do, not what your parents say. Sorry, mom and dad.
So kids, if you play enough FIFA, you can make it. It's possible.
So
technology is also like a big thing that's influencing just the world, right? Technology advancement and AI. So how are you and the EAFC team handling this growth in the coming years? How are you adapting that? Because I feel like FIFA, though, and a lot of sports games have already been using AI, maybe not as sophisticated as now, but I remember FIFA, I think 15, 16, where they started using the AI for bringing in players, asking for the run or defending. So what's this next generation of FIFA or EAFC gonna look like with the advancement of AI?
So I think with specifically the use of AI, I can't say too much because I don't know about the real hard technical stuff. I'm more of a gameplay testing side. I provide my insight from real football on the game, and but certainly the company is so huge. There's so many moving pieces, and even during the past few years, there's been cool stuff. There's data captured from real matches, and they see players moving and running in real life, and they track their movement, and in the game they reflect that. So you see players like Haaland, Van Dijk, moving and running like they do in real life, and there's just so many of those little things, little details that go into the game. The way the cloth moves, the kits move, and
the grass, right? The blades.
Grass.
Sometimes you see it. Yeah.
There's just so many little details that are incredible to look at, and right now I think the most impressive kind of technology they use is they also have those full body suits that
the green suits, right? Oh.
Yeah, it's right now my mind is blanking on the name, but they put that on the players and they track those stats and their kind of movements, and it transitions into animations into the full game. So the game that we're playing is actually real movements, real shots, real goalkeeper saves translated into the 3D environment, which is cool.
Wow, that's amazing. Oof. I think you said it, there's so many moving pieces, right? And when you get the game, you're just Liverpool versus Chelsea, let's go, But what went on behind closed doors to get there is just amazing. Which I want to which I would be remiss if I didn't ask. Tell us what is your role with EAFC?
So just real quick into how I got the job in the first place. So people always assume when they say I work at EAFC, they assume I'm this coding guy or I'm this tech genius, which certainly is not the case. So what I had was I loved the game. I played it a lot, and obviously I had that real life experience of playing in the Mongolian Premier League as a player. So those kind of really helped me. And when I first came to Vancouver, I was applying for hundreds of jobs, as you do. And there was this one ad that said soccer video game tester, and it didn't even specify which company, blah blah blah. So I just applied on it, and I forgot about it. But after a month and a half, they reached out to me saying, we're EA, we're looking for testers for our games, and I got my start on FIFA Mobile actually.
Wow.
And I was working as a tester on the mobile platform, and even that was fascinating because I didn't know about it, as I don't really play on my phone.
Of course.
But they kind of share those statistics of the revenues and how much money people spend, and it's incredible. It's not comparable to the console version, but it is still, there's so much money going around, people spending money and being so invested in the game. It's unbelievable. And then I transitioned from a tester on FIFA Mobile to the main FIFA FC as we know it, and that was the best experience for me because that was always my kind of dream.
Yes,
and
me too.
And so I was working on the gameplay team for a little bit longer than 3 years. Right now, what I do is called an associate quality designer. It's a bit more complicated, more complex than just a tester, just playing the game all day. I wish I did that, but it's a bit more to it, making testing plans, looking at feedback and kind of giving our feedback as well, really just going into the details of the game. And also one thing I really want to say during this interview is, people give EA a lot of hates, right? Oh, EA just care about the money. They don't care. They don't test the game.
They don't care about the fans.
There's so much of that stuff going around, and as someone who's directly in it, what I want to say is the people that work on the game, the gameplay, the producers, everyone, the testers, 90% of us love the game. We play it. You know, we have a beautiful pitch at EA which we play on during lunch. And what's funny is it gets so intense. Like people you work with, even like my bosses, we would be tackling each other, kicking the hell out of each other. It gets competitive. We forget that we're kind of, you know, co-workers, and we're just playing the game. It's really crazy, but it's a wonderful place to work, and the people there really love football. They love the game, so it is being made by people that really do love it.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's super important to say because, again, while it's easy to outside looking in and say like, you know, they don't care, they're being lazy. No, there's like testing, there's data, there's regional, like you guys are putting real players, putting testers, you know, you're bringing data scientists, you're bringing all types of people to bring this product. And again, the beautiful part is you guys are just as big of fans as we are, you know, so
exactly.
I think that's super crucial. And yeah, no, I'm really glad you said that. So as a former player, what would you say your role is, and did that help you in this? Again, I know you're a big FIFA guy, so, but as a player, do you think that also kind of like leverage your position to like, you know, like, hey, like this is not as realistic, you know, or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with a video game, you have to kind of find that balance, because real life football, it's played in 90 minutes, and if you make it too realistic, then it's not going to be fun. Because on the PlayStation with your friend, you're trying to score goals, you're trying to do skill moves, you know, which is not what we really see in real life football, right? So it's like finding that balance, where if you make it too realistic, too lifelike, then it's just going to be 5-yard passes, and it's going to be too slow. So there's also a huge fan base where they're casual players and they want to do those crazy skills, do those scorpion kicks, which if you just look at it from a realistic point, it's not realistic, right? But so it's all about finding that sweet spot and that balance, I would say. And there's a lot of times where you give your feedback as someone working on the game, and then sometimes, again, like the higher ups, they make the decisions, like, is this gonna make sense for our fan base? And you know, so it's a lot of those things happen, and
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's interesting too, because I think my biggest rage quit. 'Cause I'm not a big rage quitter. I like to think I'm a graceful loser. But the biggest rages is when I know it's a little kid doing scorpion kicks, doing unrealistic stuff, right? Like, yeah. So that's again, like, you don't think about these little moments, right? So beautiful, my friend. As we wrap this up, right? What would you say? What's next for you, my friend? Like, so we had the professional career, we had this EA professional career. What's next, my friend?
So as we briefly talked about it before, like I said, I really love the game. I have a huge passion for it, which is never gonna go. And so, like, what happens with a lot of people, a lot of players, when you realize you're not gonna play at those levels that you want, coaching is a real option. And now thinking back, like I was coaching my friends just in the summer, like not even on the field, we're just on the grass, and I'm coaching them, making them do drills. Like I was doing that at 13, 14 years old, which
That's
now
awesome.
thinking back, like I had those kind of attributes of coaching and being kind of in that leadership role.
Of course.
So I think the beautiful thing about coaching is you may not have been the best player, you don't have the skills, but even then you have the opportunity to go and be a part of professional football, and that's what I'm aspiring to do. So I'm doing my coaching licenses at the moment. It's a long journey. That's why most of the coaches you see are kind of old, but that's kind of changing with younger coaches coming in. That's cool. And my dream is to just coach at the highest level I can, and that's the plan.
So any big clubs looking for a coach, sign my man, okay? He's the next big thing. And I think what you're saying is sometimes the best coaches weren't players, right?
Yeah.
I think there's an aspect of knowing the game from a different perspective. And the beautiful thing is you have been a player, but then now you have this EA experience, right? And then you're saying, like, at a young age, you also had this leadership quality, which huge. If you can't command your teammates, a locker room, you're certainly not going to command a locker room. So I completely agree. Uguudei, my brother, this was a pleasure running around New York City. Thank you so much for making time with us. Is there anything you want to tell the world-class family before you leave?
Just football is just a wonderful thing, and it's the love for it has given me so many opportunities, and it's taken me so many places I would never have gone otherwise, and it's just a beautiful thing. And yeah, I guess I'm just grateful to football for everything.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And shout out to football because they brought us here. So with that, hermano, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's a pleasure, my brother.